Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 1st of July, and what a successful June that we did have going through here. Running the DLCon Paint 2 version, I'll show you right there, on the daily here for just visual purposes, a little bit of a change from what we were showing before. And you can see we had our conversion that started right here at the 38% level as we turned around to this fantastic record, in fact, June. Not a surprise off of the reset that we had, and then the new step down of the orange below with the steel moving above 13.5. We were a little questioning it when we dipped below with the steel coming back below 13.5, and that led to a little bit of stall, but we had green well over cyan, and then when they did convert into a little bit a softer play, we had a very strong shakeout conversion that we got right before the eventual P2 that led to the new highs that took place, and then we got soft signal that led to the small retrace back to the 76%, and sure enough, with that steel reset and the pop above, got a nice little bounce from it the last couple of days in that beautiful rising gold. So if we were running the GAM function, you would see the gold colored candles up here at the peak. Overall, we're at that key inflection point where cyan meets red, so that's significant because if cyan dips below, then we know we're going to be making new highs. What we're going to be looking for is any rejection. We've already got orange below red, as you can see from right here. So all the factors for a nice bullish run are back in place. We've started with the higher histogram for the shakeout, which is something we were talking about at the end towards Friday, when we were looking at it from a NASDAQ standpoint. Still a little bit softer, still doing the exact same things, but you can see the distance between red versus the cyan where they're meeting at the S&P or the ES versus not even close here at the NASDAQ level. So that's been kind of a drag, which we kind of expected. This is the Euro also running on DLCon Paint 2. Here you can see we had the transition from the buy configuration right at 50%, got a bit overbought, and then we went into cyan under red, which is bullish here. So we've been in a cross pattern. It's going to have to really hold up. We never got above zero for the DOC red, which is problematic, and I think that's going to, unless we get a turnaround to the upside for it, be what ends up creating our DOC spread and starts the eventual rollover. We're still looking at pretty positive from a shakeout standpoint. I don't have my zero lines. I think I'll turn them on there so you can see what the plus 15, even though we're only at 9. Still worth seeing that. From bonds, TLT Treasury notes, it's been interesting because it's been a huge run up, which is throwing a lot of people off because they think this yield inversion is the end of the world and therefore crisis. This built-in expectation that there's going to be easing because we're already in a recession, which we've been in for the last, 5 years, but more importantly, supposedly right at the start of the Trump administration, which turned out to be completely bogus. So, well, that's a whole nother story for a different time, but needless to say, kind of in a little bit of a weak pattern, but we've had strong red above zero here on the DOC. So it's just kind of working that out. With that steel reset, there's still a potential that more activity. That is definitely weak for dollar trade, as well as it's interesting because it should have an impact like this on oil. We knew that this was going to start to soften once we get to this peak here. We can see the rejection took place from the DOC cyan to red, and this just created a little bit of a pullback in here. The fact that it's never got DOC red above zero as well means problems within this broader downturn. This was a nice little upturn that took place, and when it had a chance to get really breaking into something new, cyan took back over, which meant shorts are still in it, but that just means that on a turnaround here with the reset of a steel, could get a nice continued move. We'll see if we get a breakdown into a lower zone with the red DOC. That would certainly exacerbate the decline setup. And from a gold standpoint, here we go, just supporting right along there, kind of what we expected given this altitude. I mean, 33 from a shakeout reading, though all positive extremes. So yes, we know there's going to be a revisit, but Cyan clearly under red. We had a little bit of the softening reading when we dipped below. Once we came back though below the 13.5, that's given it support to the move. And so when this breaks back above, there could be a nice little push to the upside from that configuration. We'll see if that takes place. Now looking at the 5K, it was kind of an interesting day. Nothing out of the ordinary. We had some nice up-down moves that made it very easy to work with it. We'll just shrink it a little bit so we can see the start of the day. We ended up with us being towards the highs. Ended up with a clean DOC spread. And actually, there was two of them, and I've got two of the 5K charts. Let's see. This is the Diocon Paint 1. It's still calculating. I believe we're in Paint 2. Yeah. So this is the Paint 2. So it shows the short a little bit later when it breaks the ABM, and clearly you have downturn on the red. But even if you looked at the first one, we still hadn't crossed above the zero. And while it was an early signal, it was mostly because of the rising gold that continued. So once they actually met, which is something we talk about, the azure and the gold meeting, then it was clear that it was going to begin to fade. So as soon as you ended up with that spread move right here, in between the 0 and 100, which I kind of like those because at that particular point when you're halfway in the middle, you don't have much of an exposure going through. Regardless, it came across pretty flat, didn't quite give us a full orange reset. Wasn't until the second turnaround move at the 50% point, we had enough of a spread between the gold and magenta, as well as rising DOC red, and it still took a few more bars before it to kind of flat line, before it kind of took over, and boom, and then it produced exactly the same type, but this time a well above zero on the red. And of course the Diocon is going to wait a little bit until it breaks below the zero line, which took place right there. Here it was pretty darn close. It was like just a fraction negative. So the open of that bar, which correspondingly, even though it's a few bars later, the start of it, it's the same price tag, which happens a lot. And that dipped down to the 23, where caught some support with the improvement in the shakeout. So anywhere along here, once the spread was significant enough, and you had green over cyan, I'll just mark it for you so it's easy to see. It took place right here, and really to me was the earliest indication of the turnaround, and I liked it because it was above 23%, which meant that it gave an easy stop configuration. As long as the shakeout continued to rise and I was having rising red, expectation was looking there if you wanted to wait until you had the full authorization, because cyan was moving under red and red was actually just about to break above zero. Came in there, and then we kind of flat, sort of went south soft, but because of the steel dip below, but you knew it was a reset situation with cyan still under red, and sure enough, that then produced the final run, which put us back over the halfway point on that way to 3,000, just like we've talked about. Oh, here it is, the 5K with the GAN function on it. And you can see the positive extremes with the red, so we know there's going to be the potentials for retrace throughout all of this pump. Not a problem, from an ES daily on the MBI Opus. Took advantage of that iron hawk that was there. The previous iron hawk was, back down here at the 28 level, and that got out at 38, and then this one rebought back in at 22. And closed out at 53. You can look at the performance report. Let it do its calculation. And very close to all-time highs from, now we're looking at quite a few years, over 15. You can see where the Fed was doing its monkey business, created a lot of churn because we ended up with long runs, as opposed to what this is looking for, more up and down, and that's why we've seen this immediate curve once the Fed stopped really playing with the markets as much, and we're going to be at all-time equity highs for that one rather quickly. From the 50K chart, which we can take a look at, see if it's I would put it up, but it's still doing the calculations on it. I made the adjustment, so that's going to be part of the new NVIDIA PowerMo Opus 2 that runs on the 50K, because it's also at equity highs, and the adjustments that I've made for that will come out for the July indicators will be already in it, so you'll be able to see. If you save your performance report, you can download that as a performance report, then you'll be able to see what the difference is. But I'm removing a bunch of the inputs so that it just makes it less, as far as having to change any of the values. They'll be pretty much fixed because they won't really need to be altered. It still will allow you to change contracts and stop risk values, but you won't have a billion of the other configurations to have to worry about it, which will make it clean and simple. And it's pretty clean too if you run the GAMP 2 on it. Looks really clean from that standpoint. So there we go. So look for those updates in the new indicators. I'll be sending them out on Sunday. You can look for your emails for the new renewal update. And I think we're going to have another exciting month, because it doesn't seem that either the news cycle is going to change, whether there's going to be a deal with China or not. Things look a little bit murkier there. Nothing was finalized in the G20, so there's going to be some interesting market reaction. Some of this pump was related to the potential of that happening, and since nothing happened from it, I think that that's where we may see some of the positive extreme refill in the open in Hong Kong futures for late West Coast Sunday, and that's going to have an impact on the way the month starts. We're going to be ending up with new flows, so the fact that we're up near the highs of the market, that you're going to have that amount of new money, it's going to have to go somewhere, and we'll see if there's a hold until some of this stuff is filled back, which will give a new opportunity, and we'll take a look at it at that point. But as always, I will keep updating you, and we'll keep having another good month, just like we did. We were spot on with all of the different moves as it came through. So exciting stuff. As always, though, trade well, and we'll talk again later.